So this is really an exciting clinical trial that we're embarking on. There have been some really interesting discoveries in lung cancer recently, and probably the most important is this discovery of the interplay between the immune system and cancer. One of the mechanisms by which cancer cells resist kill by the immune system is that they have expression on their surface, something called PD-L1. And that PD-L1 interacts with something on the immune cell called PD-1. And that interaction between those two proteins prevents the immune cell from attacking the cancer cell. There are now a new class of inhibitors called PD-1 inhibitors. And basically, this class of drugs disassembles that interaction between the immune cell and the cancer cell. The PD-1 inhibitors by themselves are not cytotoxic. They by themselves do not kill cancer, to the best of our knowledge. What they do is they disarm that interaction to allow the immune cell to kill the cancer cell. Now that sounds wonderful, but does it really work? It turns out it really works. This class of PD-1 inhibitors has been broadly active against a number of cancers, including heavily pretreated advanced non-small cell lung cancer. One of these drugs in particular, called pembrolizumab, which is an antibody against PD-1, is a drug that we are particularly interested in studying. This drug is highly active in chemotherapy refractory disease in patients with advanced disease. And what's really exciting is that there are a subset of patients who not only respond, but respond for very long periods of time, much longer than what we see with typical chemotherapy. Now that's great for patients who are suffering with advanced disease. Perhaps they can get a reprieve. But what we really aim to do in the management of people with cancer is to try to cure more patients. Well, treating patients in the locally advanced setting still is an opportunity to cure patients. And so our hope is, after completing chemotherapy and radiation therapy, that the addition of pembrolizumab will help cure more patients. The good news is for this clinical trial for patients is that they can and will receive the standard of care treatment for stage 3 disease through their local doctors. They will receive the commonly used chemotherapy regimens, either cisplatin and etoposide or weekly carboplatin and paclitaxel, given concurrently with radiation therapy. It is not necessary for them to travel to a site that has the study open to receive all of that therapy. What we ask is for you to consider, for those sites to consider partnering with us and letting their patients know that there may be an opportunity for them to receive what I think we can all agree upon is a very promising investigational drug. This would be given approximately 1 to 2 months after they have finished their treatment at their home with their home physician. At that point, as long as the patients do not have disease growth and they remain fit and well and meet the eligibility criteria for this type of therapy, they would then be entered onto the clinical trial where they would receive pembrolizumab by IV every 3 weeks. It would require them to travel to a study site, but we are doing our very best to ensure that those study sites are within a reasonable proximity for the patient. Once the treatment is completed, they of course return to their physicians who they've entrusted with their care, and they would continue to be followed up. And certainly any further therapy that would be required for the patient would be done by their local doctors.